Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?
Hey, everyone in, let's go. Huddle up on 3. 1, 2, 3, huddle up.
No one, and I mean no one, comes into our house and pushes us around. This is your game now, gentlemen.
Russian 3, dropping 8. Uyangalele steps up, loads and throws. It's caught. It's pitched backwards, up in the air. It's on the ground, still in Clemson's hands. And now it is down. It is over. And the Irish have knocked off number 1 Clemson.
Fans on their feet. Rally towels are being waved. Brad Lidge stretches. The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Eller for the draw. And as the puck drops, the words that DC fans have been waiting to hear since 1974, the Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions.
And now, welcome everyone to the Huddle Up Podcast.
We're not going to be fucking sunk this year. We're the Stanley Cup champions. Yeah!
Welcome, everyone. Huddle Up Podcast. We are live, facebook.com/Huddle Up Podcast, also on Twitter and on our YouTube channel. We are glad to be back with you here on a Tuesday night, Jim and Sean. And if you are following along with us in the live video, give it a like and a share. Get as many people in here as possible. We'd appreciate that. As, a few weeks off, had an extra week off last week. I'll take the fall on that one. A little ill-prepared on my part, but we are back and glad to be talking sports with you here on a Tuesday night. Want to remind everyone to follow us on our social media at Huddle Up Podcast on Facebook and Twitter, and at Huddle Up Pod on Instagram. Make sure you're subscribed on all podcast platforms. That's Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Amazon, Spotify, and basically if you can find one that we're not on, let us know, and we'll make sure we get there. If you do subscribe on Apple Podcasts, rate and review, we'd appreciate that. Make sure you check out our merchandise over at whatamaneuver.net. 2 great designs up on the site there as of right now, and possibly more to come. But thank you to those who have purchased the merchandise so far. Again, whatamaneuver.net, our home network, and GSC Sports at ngscsports.com. And our secondary network, you'll hear a little bit more about them during the break, the Leap Sports and Music Network. That is LEEIB Sports.com. Got all the business out of the way. Welcome in to Sean, my brother, of course, down there from the Sean Shine State. Been a few weeks, but we're back, man.
Yeah, still here, still cruising. There's been plenty of interesting things to keep me busy in the sports world. Speculation, trades, spring training, March Madness. So it's been plenty to keep me rolling. Not to mention being within a week of the due date of baby number 2. Of course, named after the Phillies' great Chase Utley. Got the Phillies jersey up here somewhere. There it is.
There we go.
You're Stupid right. Backwards mirrored computer feed. I'm like, I know it's over here. But yeah, pretty excited for that. Should happen by this weekend, most likely. But if not, we'll just be on his time.
Yeah, no doubt. So this will probably be the last we see of you for a little while, and
That's possible. Lord knows, with it being right before what 2 weeks will bring. Maybe, I'll deserve a break. Maybe I'll have earned one. Maybe I won't. Hard to say, really. But
hopefully by the time football season rolls
easily by then, I would assume come 2 shows from now, maybe a 1-show hiatus at most. But I'm sure I'll be needing a beer at some point, and may as well talk sports while we have it.
But we have some guest hosts that are prepared to step in if they need be, and Matt and Dave will be in here as well. But obviously, best of luck over the next couple of weeks as that day quickly approaches, and so there's plenty to be excited about both in and out of sports. So Sean, let's start right with it. Last week, there's usually not a whole lot of stuff in the NFL world to talk about, but the Miami Dolphins, and we just keep finding more and more ways to talk about your Philadelphia Eagles, but keep
finding it. Yeah, we do.
Quite the draft trade to talk about last week. 2 trades, both of course involving the Dolphins, one involving the 49ers. That was the Dolphins trading the number 3 overall pick this year to the 49ers for this year's number 12 pick, a first round and third round pick in 2022, and a 2023 first round pick. And then minutes later, the Dolphins turned around, traded that number 12 overall pick this year and the number 123 pick this year, and the 2022 first rounder to your Philadelphia Eagles for the number 6 and number 156 overall pick this year. So really, and I think you and I were talking over the weekend, and this trade is probably the closest thing in the modern NFL to what Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson did with the Dallas Cowboys with the Herschel Walker trades. Where you have a player, you make a deal, and you turn those picks into multiple picks over multiple years, and you just keep playing with things, and you move this guy, because I think I saw what it turned into, 8, it's a double.
Well, I have it here pulled up, ready to go. Let me get it pulled up here. Basically, the Dolphins had turned. It kind of started with some trades involving Kiko Alonso. When they shipped him out of town, Byron Maxwell was involved in a trade that resulted in some picks. And, of course, the Laramie Tunsil / Kenny Stills trade brought some picks in. And since that time, they've started rolling those picks over with some other players and some other opportunities. And I think it was just a really crafty situation for Miami to realize, we're not there. And then they go out and they find, Tua falls to them. They're like, let's take the gamble there. Whether or not he proves to be the quarterback of the future, they seem to still believe in him. And why wouldn't you? Has a very short, you spent a pretty high pick on him. And at the very least, you want to get him some work to see if you do have to use one of these picks. But as of now, they've rolled those deals. And I'm looking at it now. In 2021, this year, 2 first rounders. They got two in the second round and 1 in the third this year. This isn't even including their day 2 picks. Or day 3. This is just days 1 and 2. 2022, they currently own 1 first round pick left. They got rid of 1, but they have a second and 2/3. And then in 2023, they still own 2 first round picks in that deal, including the one from San Francisco, and then a second and a third. So you're looking at 5 day 1 and 2 this year, 4 next year, and 4 the year after that in the first 3 rounds. And that's a lot of potential talent. And I think what it does for the Dolphins is they've gotten some flack for drafting over the last decade at certain times. And I feel like, they seem to have a direction now. You have less holes to fill than normal. The defense is looking pretty strong, and with a few extra pieces there could be really strong. So I think if you're the Dolphins, you've really set yourself up. You can take some gambles. You know what I mean? You have an opportunity to go, you know what, best available. We weren't really eyeing this position, but the guy's falling. You have the position to obviously – they're at a point where if there's a high first-round pick that they're eyeing and the opportunity presents itself to trade, they have a lot of pick because these are all going to cost money, but this is also going to be a lot of talent on rookie deals.
Right.
So once you have the talent on your roster, you have several years to make it work before it starts breaking your bank. So just a real good opportunity for them to kind of restock, reload, put some talent behind the guys that are already there and not really spend a lot doing it. And, kind of sets up well for them. So kudos to the Dolphins and that front office.
Yeah, I mean it's extremely it's well done, and when you have that much capital in the draft, if you miss on a pick or two, it's probably not going to be as detrimental because you have
you have so many,
you have so many picks, and you have the ability to move some of those as well. If a deal comes up on draft day, where if a team wants to move a running back, team wants to move a receiver, team wants to move, if you're if you're having trouble mid-season. At the defensive end prediction, position or something like that, you have the ability to move some of these picks over the next couple of years as well. So definitely.
Well, and I guess not to mention the ability to do it mid-season. You have if something that you start to kind of get on a roll and realize, hey, you know what, this is happening faster than we expected. And there's a team struggling with some money, and you got money under the cap. You have the opportunity to roll some of these picks. Maybe get rid of a guy that's not working out in the locker room. Maybe, unloading a little of your younger talent to get a more veteran guy when you realize we can win now. Because you're in a division that's fairly wide open. I mean, they had an opportunity to win it this year. So it could be that opportunity as well. So you definitely have a lot of potential tricks up your sleeve with what they've been able to do.
Yeah, so let's before we talk about your Eagles,
right,
whatever it is they're doing.
I have some answers on that, so I'm glad we're going to talk about it.
Looking at the 49ers, because they're sitting at the 12 pick and they move up. Now, they have basically come out and said that they're not moving Jimmy G. This wasn't a move to make a quarterback play or anything like that. Which, I mean, can certainly be the situation, but in the same time, we've seen these statements from general managers and coaches and personnel before, and then you get closer to draft time or you get on to draft day, and those those deals end up getting made. So I'm not necessarily 100% buying that Jimmy Garoppolo is on the move, but I also I'm not 100% buying into the 49ers that they're sticking with him 100%. There has to be something, some position, some specific player, really. If you're going to move up from 12 to 3, you have to think you're making that deal for somebody specific. Do you think this is a quarterback move for the 49ers, or do you see them going somewhere else with that pick?
Oh, well, it's definitely. I mean, no one's trading into that position in this draft. With the number of QBs and the teams up there looking for one. No one's making that move without a QB in mind. Now, I don't know that I would necessarily call it a QB move. It's definitely going to be a QB acquisition. It sets them up, to get the third QB off the board because it seems, it's obviously consensus that both the Jags and the Jets are looking quarterback. And, assuming that the rumors are true, obviously, Trevor Lawrence isn't off the board yet, but we can all just kind of count him. But then the second pick seems to be leaning towards Wilson. It seems that him and the Jets are on the same page. They're already talking. That seems to be the pick. So assuming those are the two, it pretty much for Shanahan looks like it's coming down to either Fields or Trey Lance, both of which are pretty solid picks. Obviously, as a quarterback in Alabama that some people seem to think deserves to be picked that high, with his build and with everything else. I don't know that I would go there. I don't think anybody's jumping that many picks and giving up that much to draft him. But both present interesting things. Trey Lance has kind of that, rocket arm kind of prototype talent. But on the other side, you're looking at Shanahan, who helped build an RG3 and has had a lot of success with that kind of hybrid or more running quarterback or mobile quarterback. So the idea of Fields, if his kind of draft and pro days and everything look good, and his stock has risen in Shanahan's mind. To me, that's the craftier pick. I don't know. It's just thing you don't know what these locker rooms know and what they know about who trading who. Obviously, Philadelphia has come out and said they had on good authority that the Bengals plan on taking Jamar Chase to pair with former teammate Joe Burrow, and that was one of the reasons for them getting involved in a trade to drop down. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but the Niners may have heard something. The guy they wanted wasn't going to fall to the middle rounds, and they had to get that high. And obviously the Dolphins are never shy to move, and you can chat with them. But to me, this is definitely a quarterback move, not necessarily a plug and start. Jimmy Garoppolo has shown to be a game manager. I think that there is some chance that he winds up being traded. Obviously New England's going to get talked about all the time once they draft their successor. But I don't know that necessarily whether it's Fields or Lance or someone else. With Garoppolo in place, if everybody's healthy and reporting to camp this year and you think you have a chance to win the West, I don't know that you hand it to a rookie. If you think you have enough talent to win, I'd almost assume they would start Garoppolo first.
Sure.
And depending how the season goes, kind of spot start, get some reps in. And, if you get into a situation like the Bengals did where nothing matters, throw your rookie in there, see what he does. You know what I mean? So,
or if Garoppolo gets hurt again, and
right. You just don't know. And then you have your insurance policy.
You're in that situation like Dallas was in with Romo with Dak behind him. Or, like you said, if the wheels kind of fall off the ship here and you get into mid-season and you move Garoppolo during the season, you have your successor there. So be curious to watch what the 49ers do with that pick. And now on to the Eagles, Sean. I mean, it kind of seemed for a good bit of the year that they had kind of reserved themselves to look, the season is a loss. It is what it is. Now you move on from Doug Peterson, you move on from Carson Wentz. But you have this number 6 pick that you worked so hard or not so hard to get, however you want to view it, and now they trade back. And I get, you also gain a first round pick next year as well. So is this something as simple as maybe the guy we thought we were going to get at 6 maybe not get there, and we're basically in rebuild mode now, and so why not add another first round pick to the mix? You swap mid rounders. Is this just basically, I'm not saying they're waving the white flag on the 2021 season, but this kind of a clear signal, and not that it's a whole lot of surprise, but the Philadelphia Eagles are kind of in a rebuild situation.
Well, yeah, and I don't know that it's necessarily a white flag. I mean, it was obviously a surprising move to some, but I don't know. I kind of overreacted at first too. I think I was kind of getting hype on the obviously the workout and the measurements and everything on a Kyle Pitts, and kind of the idea of getting a Jamar Chase, or definitely having one of the top 2 receivers most likely right there, maybe even your pick of the litter. I was kind of excited, and so to watch him move down, it's been a while since we had a pick that high, so being able to get one of the profile guys, it was very exciting to me. But reviewing the trade, I think both sets of trades, all 3 teams, I feel like kind of got the best of what was necessary for the teams. The Eagles had apparently had this trade kind of on paper worked out with the Dolphins. They were told to kind of wait and hold ship because the Dolphins were trying to make the double move. So they were, they kind of felt that for what they were looking to do, they didn't need the pick that high. And, they kind of worked it out with the Eagles. I'm not sure, I think a lot of people saw what the Dolphins got for how far up the Niners moved, and then for the Eagles to go down almost as many spots and then only get the return they got. I was like, yeah, I think the difference is the value of that 3 versus the value of 6. A team looking for a quarterback's willing to spend a lot more than a team, kind of just looking to go back up and have a stockpile of players. If you're looking at drafting a wide receiver or a tight end at 6, maybe a lineman, maybe a linebacker, you're not going to give up the farm the way you would if you're like, look, we're going to get our franchise quarterback here. So I don't think that's the case for the Dolphins. And for the Eagles, they just felt, like I said, they had heard rumors that the Bengals might go Jamar Chase. I've heard a lot of people, and I would have assumed the Bengals are going offensive line, especially with the opportunity to get probably the first offensive lineman off the board with the beating Joe Burrow took and the fact that you lost him for a good part of the year. I would think that fortifying what's in front of him would be a focus, and we haven't seen him do that in free agency yet.
Which is just crazy.
So I thought that maybe that was going to be the case. Maybe they see kind of a lot of middle tier lineman talent, kind of a muddled pool of just there's going to be a lot there. But adding a Jamar Chase, you just lost an AJ Green who was almost invisible. You have some other young stud receivers. This would give you a big hands guy that he's familiar with and comfortable with. So I don't think the Jamar Chase pick is unrealistic. So with that in mind, they said, you know what, we looked at the talent and what you have enough holes on your team that you don't have to go, well, we really want this number one wide receiver, and if the guy you were eyeing up is going to be gone, they felt that the number of guys between 6 and 12, they obviously have more than 6 guys they're willing to draft in the first round.
Sure.
And they're saying no matter what order the guys go at, because a few of those other teams are going to stab at some quarterbacks, which by trading down, I think you've told Jalen Hurts, at least for the time being, you're the guy. But what it does, and people that thought they might replace him or oh, look at this talent, we might end up with a quarterback here. You've set yourself up with presumably 3 first-round draft picks next year. Let's assume Carson Wentz starts enough games and or gets to the playoffs and starts a game. At the very least,
scenarios completely believable. Whether it's
the Colts,
him playing, the Colts should make the
playoffs without him.
Correct.
mean, you could start Jacoby Brissett, and I would still probably pick the Colts in that division. So, I think it's realistic to say you're probably going to have a first round pick, and if not, if they derail and don't make like it sets up where if they don't make the playoffs and Carson Wentz doesn't start, you're probably going to have a pick in the first half of the second round, because if they're not in, they're out. So you're not looking at a late second round pick. So I think where it is, you're looking at those 3 picks next year, and it gives you that chance. Now, is there going to be it's not like you were going to have the opportunity to draft Trevor Lawrence this year at 6. So, not having a guy like that in the draft, but the Eagles have an opportunity next year to maybe use some of that and some of their second round picks to move up and get a guy. If they decide, Hurts doesn't look like the guy, let's go get one. They're going to have the ability to move next year and find him. And you have 11 picks this year. They have more picks than anyone else in the draft. So to say white flag, I'm not buying it. You move down 6 spots. There's still going to be a ton of talent, and you have 10 other picks in the next 3 days. I think the Eagles still have an opportunity to reload, and they're kind of in a Dolphins boat where they're going to be able to get this for a very little money, and it's what they need because they don't have any. So, they're going to kind of load up that way.
Like if you look over history, especially recent history over the last 10 to 20 years, yes, there are superstars that are earned in the.
People are panicking, like even if it was Jamar Chase or Pitts. Is it that unrealistic to think that one of those might bust?
Right.
I mean, they're real good. They look real good in college.
That's what I was trying to say. Is like, if you look over the history of the draft, I mean, yes, there are stars that have been made in the first 6 picks, but when you're talking pick 6 to pick 12, you go back over history. I don't think you're seeing a whole ton of difference in terms of NFL careers from 6 to 12. You're going to see some busts. You're going to see some guys that kind of hang around for a number of years, and then you're going to see some superstars. And
the fact that Eagles fans that I've kind of follow in groups and things like that are upset that we didn't land, like we're no longer in a position to get one of the top receivers or Kyle Pitts. He was so high on him. I mean, how many years in a row did the Detroit Lions draft a wide receiver till they hit Calvin Johnson? And even that one didn't help. I mean, he did. Right. It made him relevant and was real good. But
irrelevant. He's
they drafted, I think it was 4 or 5 consecutive first-round wide receivers to the point where you're like, why are you even drafting? Like, what is happening? Yeah. And none of them worked. They just, proven college talent They knew what they wanted to do, and they just couldn't do it. None of the guys worked out, and that's the way the Motor City rolls, and there's no telling, no matter how big or strong a guy is, that he's going to be able to transcend to the next level with the same level of success.
And I mean, here's the thing, like, and I know he's a guy that I'm a fan of because he went to Notre Dame. But you look at a guy like Miles Boykin, who I'm pretty sure was a third round pick, or a third day pick, excuse me, by the Baltimore Ravens. And even in his first year, he started turning some heads, and now he's he's becoming a target. And you look at a Chase Claypool, for example. I know he was a first round pick, and I'm going to pull it up here really quick if I can find it, where exactly he was drafted, but I think it was in the later part. He was a second round pick 49, and he's basically become the almost the de facto number one in Pittsburgh. You look at
I
know Schuster was just brought back, but Claypool has kind of developed this relationship with Big Ben, and was kind of, whether he was a number one or not, debatable. But on a lot of those deep plays, on a lot of those end zone plays,
Claypool's a way more exciting deep threat and red zone option.
Right. So whether he was a true number one or not, he was the guy that Ben was looking to first. If you were looking
the truth be told, Deontay Johnson gets more targets than anyone else on that team. He's the one filling the old Antonio Brown role. It's not Juju Smith-Schuster, and people still talk up Juju. And I know the Eagles had an offer out there. It came out later, multi-year, much more money than Pittsburgh decided to stay. I don't know if he just didn't like where the Eagles are or are going. Seems like a kind of a silly maneuver. I don't think anybody knows where Pittsburgh is or where they're going.
Right, and Deontay Johnson was a third round pick.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson, very low. Antonio Brown, very successful for the Steelers. He was
right. You don't
third, fourth round realm, if I remember
have
correctly.
To be a first round top 5, top 6 pick.
And I'm going to Google here in a second. Jerry Rice, I know for a fact, was not a first day selection.
Terrell Owens wasn't, was he?
In case you were, in case everybody was curious, Jerry Rice out of where was it? I know it was a tiny school, and it eluded my memory.
Jacksonville State, right?
Mississippi Valley State.
Mississippi Valley. Yeah. He was one of those southern states.
Yeah, southern Mississippi Valley State, big football school, very well known. Well, what pick was Jerry Rice in the draft? Oh, he was a first round, following being selected 16th overall in the 1985 draft. So he was drafted way higher than I expected.
Terrell Owens was a third round pick. He was the 89th.
Can you imagine being an NFL exec and being, I really like this kid out of Mississippi Valley State, and people are like, well, yeah, there's a guy out of Georgia though. He's real fast. They're like, no, you're gonna want this guy. You're gonna want this Mississippi Valley State.
He's probably
Bill Walsh is like, I want that kid.
So
yeah, like, well, Bill Walsh.
I mean, it's the Eagles. They're putting stock in the draft, and I think it's a smart move. You're making yourself. You have a lot of availability this year. You have a lot of availability next year, and to see how things pan out. And in news of how the hell does this happen? Colt McCoy signing a 1-year deal with the Arizona Cardinals. That guy's still in the league.
Yeah, well, I mean, he to be fair, in the last couple of years, in spot starts with the Giants, hasn't looked bad.
No,
I mean, and to be honest, there's been a couple runs poor runs for Danny Jones that Colt McCoy actually looked like an improvement. And so for you have a risky injury, possibly laden quarterback starting situation. You want to make sure you have somebody in there that can come in and handle some snaps for a game or two. I don't hate that. I don't hate that signing. That's fine. But he's definitely up there. But the Eagles also showed, I mean, with the Juju Smith offer, and there were a couple other offers out there on the table. They are trying to use what money they have to land some players. I was disappointed they weren't as much in the Kenny Golladay sweepstakes. I thought that was going to be a good signing despite his injury history. Lord knows our training staff is top notch.
Yeah. Great talent. Not going to deny the talent, but man, can't stay healthy. But Sean, today also the NFL confirming and approving the addition of an 18th week, a 17th game, extra week of the NFL regular season, which I
also thought, great for our training staff.
Right. I thought that was already a thing. I thought that had already been approved, but I was wrong. So just looking over some of the matchups in the additional week, the Eagles get the Jets, the Cowboys get the Patriots. The Cowboys and Eagles are the easier ones out of the NFC East because the Giants get the Dolphins, Washington gets the Bills. Looking around the rest of the league, some of the bigger matchups added with that 17th game, the Buccaneers and the Colts. The Seahawks,
there were some decent marquee games in
Seahawks
that.
The Steelers, Saints, Titans,
Packers, Chiefs is one for sure, right?
Jesus, the Caps are blowing a lead again. Surprising. Cardinals and Browns, kind of a big one there, and Packers and the Chiefs.
Packers Chiefs is
definitely the biggest of those matchups.
You think anyone's excited for Eagles Jets?
I mean,
I'm excited for.
I'll say Eagles fans probably are. If we're being
when it comes down to like jockeying for position in the NFC East, the fact that the Washington football team draws the Buffalo Bills in that last added game.
That's what I said. I mean, the Giants get the Dolphins, Washington gets the Bills. You know, the Cowboys get the Patriots, which could go either way.
Right. Well, the Patriots are spending some money, and presumably, I still think the Patriots are spending all that money because they played against the Buccaneers this year. But that's just me.
Doubt it.
Chance to Bill versus Tom. He's like, I'm not going to get embarrassed out there. We'll bring Cam Newton back. And they're like, you said you didn't want to get embarrassed. Why are you doing that? But yeah, the fact that the Eagles drew the Jets, that could be the difference hypothetically in that division. Would be that extra game. But yeah, I was looking at that. I like the Vikings Chargers. I thought that was a pretty decent matchup.
I mean, the Chargers
Bears Raiders could be a good game. I don't know if it's going to have any playoff implications, but it could be a good game.
I mean,
it's the Khalil Mack Bowl.
Right. I mean, the Raiders were a game off the playoffs, but Bears made the playoffs, but
should have been a game off the playoffs.
Should have been.
But it's the Khalil Mack Bowl. It's pretty exciting.
But I like the, like I said, I thought it already happened.
Bucks Colts is a really good
with
matchup in there.
With the expanded playoff, and I like adding an extra game and an extra game into the mix.
Why not? Does that mean my fantasy season goes 1 week longer?
Well, yeah, that we'll have to bump it back to what
That's exciting. I get an extra week of fantasy.
Right, 14, 15, 16 instead of 13, 14, 15.
I'm fine with that.
But yeah, so the NFL adding another week this year, and some decent games on the on that extra week for some playoff implication. Moving to the frozen sheet here, Sean. Last week, some big news with the NHL firing veteran referee Tim Peel. In a game between the Red Wings and Predators, he was kind of caught in a hot mic moment. 15:04 left in the first. Victor Arvidsson, forward for the Predators, called for a tripping against tripping Red Wings defenseman John Merrill. Even though Merrill embellished the fall, Peel had made the call from around center ice with 12:42 remaining in the period. The Nashville broadcast captured audio of Peel saying it wasn't much, but I wanted to get an effing penalty called against Nashville early. Once that got caught, it kind of got blown up around the social media and around the internet, and was kind of the talk of sports media there for a brief period of time. The NHL acted quickly, announcing that he will not officiate any more games. He was set to retire at the end of this year, so just giving him an early start. People reacted to this and questioned whether or not the NHL acted too heavy-handed with the decision to let him go. And I think there's multiple reasons why they made the decision to let him go. First off, he was retiring at the end of the year. So at this point, what's it worth to suspend him? You're halfway through the season. You suspend him. What are you going to do? Bring a guy who was caught on a hot mic?
First of all, dropping an F-bomb, but second of all, admitting that he was trying to call a penalty on another, like a makeup
if
call.
you've sat anywhere in the first 10 rows of a hockey game, the F-bomb isn't the issue. Because the audio theoretically should not have been on. But when you're
Right.
caught,
But
you know,
did that audio go out on national television?
On the broadcast, yeah.
Yikes.
Yes, and that's
Clearly
how
not on a delay.
No, that's how it got caught. So like, what are you going to do? Bring a guy back who's clearly calling with bias. Something that right, wrong, or indifferent people have questioned, especially with the NHL for years. Now you have a guy, clearly caught red-handed, admitting that was the intention. So why are you going to bring that guy back for the playoffs? He's going to retire anyway. I think the NHL acted right here because, obviously every sports fan in the world, agrees that, if their team loses, it's because the referees were bullshit. Everybody knows that. But like when you have this situation, and if you don't act swiftly, if you don't make a statement by moving on from him, then any time there's a questionable call, anytime something doesn't go the way that it should, clearly, then you're going to have credibility called into question, which again, the NHL already has some issues with, be it with their on-ice officiating, their Department of Player Safety. There's already questions there. Now you're really caught red-handed. I think the NHL did exactly what they had to do. They had to fire Tim Peel. They had to send a message. It's not very often I agree wholeheartedly with what the NHL does from a disciplinary standpoint. This is one time I think they got it big time right.
Oh yeah, I mean their hands were tied. Even if he would have been somebody just genuinely loved in the organization and generally loved, by hockey people and all around. I mean, and it's just a matter of stupidity. I mean, in today's world, to begin with, the fact with cell phones and social media and everything else, you got to watch what you say to begin with. But when you're in a game where you're where you're mic'd up for any reason and you have no control over when that goes on a feed, you got to watch your mouth. Just dropping the curse word, I understand that that's just a way, and how the league doesn't have a delay. I mean, in a lot of cases, there's a delay to kind of filter that out. I'm not sure what happened.
I thought
there
had been one because of the no fans situation. Things were picked up that aren't normally picked up.
Yeah, well, there will be now. But the to say something that glaringly suspicious and just lack of thought. That's all it really is. And I understand it's probably a conversation he's had on the ice in years past, very similar. I understand. You're telling a coach like, look, I'm going to keep my eyes open. Whatever you're going to say, but you can't specifically name a team and be like, I was trying to get one on Nashville. Like,
right.
You can think it and you can be looking for it, and like hockey fans all over the world are like, that's a makeup call. You know it.
Sure.
I know it.
We've seen makeup calls, whether it's
all
hockey, baseball, strike
football,
zones,
pass interference here and there. Be like, well, they made that one up. But like, and I get it. It's part of the official trying in an interest of fairness. Maybe you thought you made a close call and you're like, man, that could really affect the game. And like, I'd like to kind of balance this out. And I understand where that makeup call idea comes from.
Sure.
But to admit you're looking for one.
Right. It's the difference if a coach calls an official over and is talking to them about, hey, this guy's clutching, this guy's grabbing, this guy's hooking on every play. I mean, I've been on, like a semi-pro football sideline, and you'll hear coaches talking, to the side judge, hey, look for this, and the referees, okay, I got it. They're that's not them saying, hey, I'm specifically looking for this. That's, a coach is talking to him. All right, we'll keep an eye out, coach, whatever. But when you're specifically, I'm trying to get Nashville a call here. I'm trying to do this, trying to do that. That immediately calls into question the credibility of that official, of that league, of that game at that time. And yeah, like you just can't have it. And, for the NHL, you act swiftly. You do what has to be done there. two more things, Sean, out of the NHL. Alex Ovechkin continuing to climb the goals, the all-time goals list. Had a slow start to this year, missed the first few games, was on the COVID list. Apparently he heard people were talking about him and saying that he was having a slow start because he's come on hot as of late. Has not scored yet tonight, though. I have the game on here. But he is up to 724 goals in his career. He is just now 7 behind Marcel Dion for fifth all-time, and then another 10 to Brett Hull at 741 in fourth place all-time. Both, obviously Dion well in range for this year. Brett Hull possibly in play this year if Alex can stay hot. Currently going into play tonight, like I said, has not scored yet. 170 goals behind Wayne Gretzky. 35 years old. He'll turn 36 in September. Obviously, the two COVID shortened seasons has not helped his bid.
It has made it a far
greater.
Made it a much steeper slope, I guess. We'll call it that. We'll make it's a steeper cliff to climb.
So if you're, if you figure if he has, 5 years left, you're looking anywhere between 35, 40 goals a season for over that period of time on average. Now you're assuming that at ages 36, maybe 37, that you're looking in closer in line of the higher 40s, pushing the 50 mark. You would like to think too that if you're within 5 or so, that even if you're a little bit past your expiration date, you might come back and try and get on the at the top of the list. But I really think that the number that's more realistic for Alex Ovechkin at this point is second place all time. Gordie Howe's sitting at 801, so that's what 77 goals. For Alex Ovechkin to get to second place all time and to currently tie Gordie Howe. That's more than reasonable. I mean, even if Alex,
how many does he need to tie Gordie?
If my math is correct, 77, because he's at 724. Howe's at 801.
It should be.
Yeah, right. So that's 77 to tie, 78 to take that over. Theoretically,
because Howe's sitting in what number is he?
801. He's in second place.
Second place, and Gretzky's
at 894.
That's a huge gap.
It is a huge gap.
That's 2 to 3 seasons.
Yeah, that is a well. I mean, when you have a couple of seasons of
it's not 2 to 3 Gretzky seasons.
No, because he had seasons of 90 plus goals. But I think that's
the most amazing. Gordie Howe did that in like 40 years.
Right. Gretzky did that
40 years. Now, given Gordie Howe played a very different brand of hockey and spent a lot of time in the penalty box. Gordie was busy enforcing the ice. So Gordie was controlling the way the game was going to be played that day. And then, in the midst of it, would be like, let me also score a goal.
So I think second place is your more realistic target. Obviously, I'm still pulling for my guy to break the
also this just in as a sports feed, just so everybody's aware, Gonzaga does cruise to remain undefeated with an 85 to 66 final score over USC, who shellacked Oregon yesterday. Yeah, Gonzaga looks literally a step above right now in the NCAA tournament, and
yeah,
if they can hold form, I don't see anybody else that I've watched play beating them. But that's just me. So back to the NHL. I just wanted to inform our listeners that will not necessarily hear this live, but some are.
Some are, yes.
Zags look good.
But you know what I mean? Like, I just the COVID shortened season suck, because last year he missed 9-10 games at the end of the year. He was on a fairly hot streak going into this year. Your season's cut down by 20 plus games. That's a lot of scoring opportunity for Alex Ovechkin. And then, of course, he missed time to start the year with the COVID absence. He wasn't actually sick, but he was on the list. So for me, I think second place is the realistic target. But I'll never count out Alex Ovechkin. If I've learned one thing over watching him for the last decade plus, I'm not going to count the guy out. But I think second place, beating Gordie Howe, finishing somewhere between 801 and 894 is your likely landing spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think second place is very realistic finish. I don't think it's unrealistic to think maybe he hangs on longer than he should, but becomes like a second or third line just situational goal scorer to try to get there. I think he's going to play as long. He's a hockey player. Right. He's not a guy that's going to walk. He's not the guy that says, you know what, I'm going to go out on top. Obviously, he would have done that already. He's young when they won the cup, but there are people that have done crazier things.
And Jágr's still playing.
Jágr's still playing. And truth be told, as good as he's playing in Europe, he could probably – I mean, you can't tell me that the Sabres have every player on their rosters better than Jaromir Jágr right now.
He could be a top line forward for the Buffalo.
Probably – yes, I was going to say. Be like a winger for the Sabres starting. And he'd probably sell tickets if they were – He'd be like, people I'll go see Jaromir Jágr. I'll go see Jágr.
Nobody else is selling.
Of course, let's be honest. Dominik Hasek at his current age would probably be a better goaltender.
Probably.
So I did a highlight reel of Dominik Hasek the other day. His top 10 saves, one of the most unbelievable. If you haven't, just go on YouTube, search Dominik Hasek, 10 best saves.
Guy was unreal, man.
It's like 4 minutes of just solid gold. Like, you're just like I still, knowing he's going to make the save, I still watch the shot going, that's going in. And he stands on his head literally, and you're like, all right, well done there. But yeah, I shortened seasons or not, it was going to be a hard climb to get to Gretzky anyway. But I'll tell you one thing, you hold the pace he's on now, and you get through even this season we're in. He holds this pace longer. It depends, like right now, what the next couple of weeks looks like. Because if he can hold a goal a game for even another couple of weeks, he may have the opportunity to turn this year into basically a number of goals that he may have scored in a full-length season. So right. All of a sudden you start closing the door a lot faster, and then I'm going to start buying that he stays in the league long enough. But if he catches Gordie, 77 is very realistic. I don't think there's any reason to think he doesn't catch Gordie Howe. But I don't, whether that other near 100 goals, it would just kind of depend when he catches Gordie. Is it mid-season? Is it like the end of season? Does he have an opportunity to maybe turn that 800 into like 820 before that particular season ends? But if he, even in the next handful of years, 3 years from now, if he's sitting at like 810, 820, 830, I think he plays into his 40s and tries to get him. I think he tries to do it. I mean, he's big, he's strong, not injury prone. At least not to this point in his career. He's not a guy that's getting beaten around, and he's not a scrawny little guy. So I think he's a guy that you can throw on a second or third line, maybe just on a power play line. You just keep him around as like a low-end guy and kind of a specialty player and kind of a team coach, especially if you're a team that reaches out for Russian talent places and they want to play with Alex Ovechkin. I don't see any reason why he can't play till he's 45 and still catch Gretzky. But it's going to take, I think, well into his 40s to get it.
Yeah, it certainly will. And like I said, with the shortened seasons, it's it has definitely put a damper on the possibility. But like I'll never count out the grade 8. Finally, one last thing here, and somewhat shorter topic in the NHL before we take the break. This year with the COVID season, of course, we had the North Division, all the Canadian teams playing each other, really kind of expanding on some of these Canadian rivalries. Your Maple Leafs, Canadians, your Maple Leafs and Senators, Flames, Oilers, stuff like that. And there's been a lot of talk, especially in the Canadian sports media, that fans, players, media, they want, whether or not you can actually make it work, to realign the NHL and have the full Canadian division from here on out, because I think that'd be really hard, because when you're talking Montreal to Vancouver and Calgary and Edmonton. That's quite the travel situation, unless you kind of do some of these group scheduling road trips that you've seen this year, and like you see more in like the American Hockey League, and the East Coast Hockey League and stuff like that. I don't know that a full realignment is necessarily possible, but I think this has kind of been a great thing for hockey in our neighbors to the north here. So I would not be shocked, Sean, if the NHL finds a way, and I think they should, because if you catch one of these games, if you have ESPN Plus, there's usually 1 or 2, maybe sometimes 3 NHL games on there every day. So sometimes you'll get these Canadian ones, or your Saturday night on the NHL Network. These Canadian matchups have been a lot of fun to watch this year, and they get pretty damn heated between these Canadian teams. So I think the NHL should really look into a way to try and make more North versus North matchups happen in the future.
Oh yeah, I think the North has been very interesting, and I think as you're pushing forward, to get as far as this year's playoffs go. I know there was talk about, the North and obviously the COVID situation, and like, obviously it's going to be bubbling and it's going to be the whole thing. I don't see a major issue there, but people want fans and people want, things like that. If the North, I think the NHL could look to realign and kind of create these divisions. It comes down to, obviously going to be a bargaining agreement. The players are going to have to agree to it, everything like that.
Sure.
I don't think there's a lot of American clubs that like look forward to traveling to Calgary. You know what I mean? Like it's not like if they're like, well, we're looking to put Calgary in like its own Canadian division. So like, are you okay not playing Calgary?
Tampa in February, yeah. Calgary, Alberta in February.
Yeah. I did see. Yeah, I did see like a funny meme. It was like top 3 cities, to land the next NHL franchise, and it was like Quebec City, Buffalo, Calgary were the 3. And I thought that was hilarious to just bash those 3 squads. But anyway, there's no franchise in Buffalo. That's horrendous. Thank you though for that win. Gritty's happy.
Thing sucks.
It does suck. It's not great. And there's another feed where someone's like, most losses in a row, and then somebody else in one of the Facebook groups have been chimed in like, actually, that would be my Winnipeg Jets. And then somebody else was like, you're wrong. You guys just went winless for 30 games. You had some ties in there. Wrong. And I'm like, wow. Wrong. First of all, to like brag and claim like, my city has the most losses. My city's the worst hockey team.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous is what it is. But yeah, I don't see whether it's like a realignment or anything like that. I mean, I'd be excited to see it. The downside is as a hockey fan, whether I'm here in Tampa, whether I'm at home in Philly, I still like the opportunity to see us play against Canadian teams. Like I liked being aligned with teams like the Maple Leafs and the Canadians. I liked getting broadcasts, from the Flyers playing in Montreal. And you get like kind of the pomp and like the more like, here's Canada before, the American national anthem and everybody. I don't know. It's just exciting. And I like the idea of traveling to Canada and we understand it's more of a Canadian game than an American game. And I
sure.
I like the idea that it kind of transcends the border. So I would rather not see a true realignment where it's like, we're going to play up here and you guys fight it out. And then we'll play the American champion then. And
yeah, and I don't think that's a realistic. I just don't think that's a realistic scenario.
But kind of more out of, and teams play, kind of everybody anyway. But to make sure the Canadian teams play Canadian teams, I think would be very exciting.
Oh, no doubt. All right, Sean, let's pause here. We're going to go to the break. We're going to hear from our sponsors. And on the other side, we're going to come back. We're going to talk Major League Baseball. We're going to predict the season starting up here in just a couple of days away. Stick with us. Huddle Up Live.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis on all things sports. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, subscribe to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports, and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
Are you looking for a place to listen to your favorite music and sports? Look no further. WLSN, the Lieb Sports and Music Network, is a web-based music and sports network. Our network was created to provide authentic, high-energy entertainment through live streaming to a national audience. We play popular music while hosting podcasts from all over the world. Curious? Check us out on the web at liebsports.com. That's LEEIB sports.com. Or find us on the TuneIn Radio app. Got Alexa? Just say, Alexa, play WLSN on TuneIn. WLSN is America's #1 blog-themed sports and music network.
Welcome back, Huddle Up Live, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Make sure you're following us on social media at Huddle Up Podcast on Facebook and on Twitter. Also, you can subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms. Give us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts. We'd appreciate that. If you're following along with us on the live video, give us a like and a share. Get as many people in here as possible. We'd appreciate that as well. Unfortunately for me, my Washington Capitals blow another lead tonight. Seems to be the theme of the season as of late, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Caps still should be at the top of the East Division.
The Flyers are red hot. We're red hot, just cruising. Like that. Yeah, so.
But yes, and getting a little chippy.
2 in a row. The last 2 games were red hot, and by red hot, I mean stealing a 2-1 win with a player's first goal of his career, and then pulling out a 4 straight goal comeback against the worst team in the NHL.
Well, hey, you can only play the games as scheduled. You know, it's like, you know, I've seen that like argument over the years. You know, when the Caps, I think this year started against like the Devils and then the Sabres. And, and everybody's like, oh, they started 4-0. They didn't play anybody. I'm like, they didn't schedule.
You're going to get to play those teams. Shut up.
Like, you know, it's everybody plays within the division. It is what it is. Rangers took a couple cheap shots there at the end. Things got a little bit chippy, but the Caps go off with a loss here tonight. 5-2 loss to those dang Rangers. Don't like it. It is what it is. But Major League Baseball getting underway this week, Sean. The new season.
Yes, they are.
And if as you listen along, if you're with us live and you want to give your thoughts on how you think the MLB season is going to play out, feel free to do that. Also, make sure you go to whatamaneuver.net and grab some Huddle Up merchandise. We'd appreciate that as well. So let's start here. We're gonna go. Let's just go through the divisions, Sean, and we'll start in the American League. We'll give our predictions for the 3 division winners. We'll give our prediction for the 2 wild card teams. I believe
I've just made like 6 changes to my list, so I'm ready to go.
I believe they're back to the normal format this year.
As of now, as far as I can tell, it's 3 division winners, 2 wild cards playing.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought they were back to normal.
I think they're going to leave it up to the bargaining agreement in another year to decide if they're changing that.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's start in the AL East, and then I also want to do when we go through each league, do like a surprise team. Well, now whether it's a good surprise or bad surprise, you can leave that up to your discretion.
Sure.
But for me, I look at the AL East and I go back to what the what happened last year, and I just I don't see this not going, unfortunately. And
can it be like my surprise team's the Pirates because they're actually going to be worse than you think? Like something like that.
I just
20
don't.
Wins.
I know, I know that. I know Tampa won the East last year, but I think the Yankees did enough in the offseason. And I think, as much as I hate to say it, I think this is going to be the Yankees division to lose. So for me, I have the New York Yankees taking the East. I hate it. I almost want to vomit saying it, but it is what it is.
Well, to be fair, I think you're probably, a lot of people are still high on the Rays there, and being in Tampa, a part of me just to watch this cruel Tampa Bay nonsense continue. Wanted to put the Rays in there, but I just don't see it. I have no reason not to pick the Yankees there, and it was just like, I think the Red Sox could surprise in that division. I think they've made some kind of changes and stuff, but yeah, what are you gonna do? It's your team. It's your team's division, but your team's not going to challenge for it. Like, what are you gonna do? It's frustrating
They're
picking
not
that division.
Challenge for a 4th out of 5, Sean.
It's like we could get 4th. We could get 4th.
No,
pretty good.
But right now, Orioles in first place because Baltimore alphabetically is the highest.
There you go. How about that?
Always starting first.
Yeah. How about that? Anyway, so are we just picking the AL East? Is that where you're at? Or are we going with the surprise team right now?
We'll go division by division.
All right, so AL East, I'm with you. I have the Yankees winning that division. I'm not sure it's close. Couldn't take the Rays, and as we go down future wise, I actually don't even have the Rays in my wild card. If you want a preview of my wild card situation,
I do not either.
Yeah, I don't know. You lose Blake Snell, and there's a lot of talent on the Rays team. And if the Rays win the East, I'm not going to be surprised. If the Rays are a wild card, I'm not going to be that surprised. But in my little selection here, I don't have them. But I take the Yankees to win the AL East.
Yeah, then I go to the AL Central, and I'm going to go just kind of a repeater of a year ago, and I'm going to look at the Minnesota Twins. They won in a tight AL Central race a year ago, and I have no reason to believe that this team hasn't gotten better. I think that you're going to see them come out and continue to just play some good baseball. They had one of the better run differentials in the American League last year. Looking down over it, third best in terms of, actually second best in terms of run differential a year ago. So kind of keep that train rolling in Minnesota. I like the Twins to come out of the Central here.
Crap, here we go. I thought I was taking kind of a stretch here. Looking at over a lot of the predictions. I was kind of doing some research, looking at Sports Illustrated and Yahoo and NBC and CBS, and it seems like a lot of folks hot on the White Sox. White Sox here, White Sox there. I'm seeing not only the White Sox but the Indians. I do like the Indians as a whole. Or are they calling themselves the Indians? Did they change that?
This is the final year that they are called the Indians. Now,
okay, so they're still the Indians. Because I was reading the articles, I'm like, how old are these articles?
They're still the Indians. They are not using any of like
Chief
the old
Wahoo.
Chief Wahoo logos. That has been retired. this will be the final season of the Indians.
See, they really had an opportunity to sell a sponsor. That could have been Chief Yahoo. You get the sponsor there. You're kind of the hub for fantasy baseball. Chief Yahoo.
If they don't come
I
up,
kind of feel like a Yahoo after that joke.
If they don't come up with a new identity, name, branding by next year, then they will probably go something similar along the way of like the Cleveland Baseball Club or something.
Good Lord.
Because as we've seen with Washington,
let's just do that for all the teams. Screw mascots.
Screw mascots. Baltimore or Cleveland today.
Yeah, you got a Baltimore-Cleveland baseball matchup. It's a real humdinger.
I think it's just there's a lot of reading with the Washington situation and why they're still going to be the football team this year. Is there's actually a lot more in the way of like trademarking and sketching and first draft.
I still think it's because Dan Snyder's an idiot.
100th draft. Well, I mean,
like how do you consistently have a racist mascot or team name and not have like trademarks banked on like backup names? Well, you should have had that ahead of time. Like you know what? At some point, we're gonna get screwed here.
I don't think Dan Snyder ever thought that his hand was going to be forced. I think he literally thought that he was just going to continue to be able to.
I thought you were going to say, I don't think Dan Snyder thought he'd have his job this long.
Well, that too.
I don't think any of us thought that.
They are still the Indians this year, but
Indians. But I saw a lot of people high them. But I also I took them last year, and they did well for me in the predictions last year. I like Minnesota's pitching, and I like everything about that lineup. They didn't make a lot of changes, but I don't think they needed to. And I just don't see any. There's certain clubs that I look at like both sides of it, like defensively and pitching wise and offensive. Like who's the most stable team? I'm gonna pick that. The most stable. The Twins just seem to be there. The Yankees are always a good bet to be because they pay good money for it.
Sure do.
The Twins do it a very different way, but they're doing it the right way. And I'm with you. So far we're 2 for 2, but I think we're going to start to differ here coming up.
Possibly. Then we go out west and not to just lather, rinse, repeat what I said for the Central, but I look at an A's team that was pretty much the dominant force in the AL West, and I don't think the Rangers are any better. I don't think the Angels are getting any younger or better. Seattle, same kind of story. So now you're down to Oakland and Houston, but when you had run differential of plus 42 compared to 4, this is an A's team that just almost reminded me a little bit sans steroids of the monster A's teams of the late 80s, early 90s. And I think they're just going to continue to roll. They're going to roll year to year. I like the A's coming out of the West again, John.
Yeah, I think I was pretty high on the A's last year, and I just I wasn't feeling it. I just, something about it, like maybe it was kind of a flash in the pan, kind of let's flip it around. I'm going with kind of a revamped pitching staff in Houston. I'm taking the other side of your coin there. I think and that lineup's too good to do as poorly as they did last year again. They were hot enough, looked like they were going to kind of catch the A's for a while, and then the season just kind of, I don't know if they ran out of time. I don't know. I don't know if time ran out of them, and I don't know if they were waiting for a trash can. Who knows what was going on? But trash cans or not, scandal or not, the Astros have a phenomenal lineup top to bottom, and their pitching staff is revamped. It's gotten younger. I like everything Houston. And it's kind of one of those ones where like a lot of places I'm looking, they're not favored super high on a list of teams to make the playoffs. They're kind of in that like plus 150 to 200 range. If you're a betting human being, putting your money on the Astros is not a bad play. I'm going to take them to win the West.
All right, very good. Then we look at the wild card again this year. Back to just 2 wild card teams. Your wild card teams from a year ago. The 2 wild card teams were Toronto and the White Sox, but you had Houston, Cleveland, and the Yankees making it as the second place team with the expanded playoffs a year ago. I'm going to go with my 2 wild card teams. They're a team that you talked about that was pretty dominant in the Central, the Cleveland Indians. I think they're going to be in that dogfight with the Twins for number 1. So I think they're going to be your top wild card team, your home club for that playing game, which, as we get later in the baseball season, be sure to talk about. I never like a play-in game in baseball. I would like to see a 3-game.
I'm with you. I think I've been pushing. Your
whole sport is based off a series.
I'm a very close friend of the Major League Baseball front office. Very close friends with a lot of them.
Well,
that's not true. If people are listening for the first time, I know no one.
Guy from the MLB Network. I don't know how much that means.
I know one person that works for Major League Baseball Productions, and maybe he's my in guy, but. I'm just trying to pass through, get rid of this 1-game play-in nonsense, especially when you're talking about pitching. Like you try to sell pitching matchups, and then in the second round, one team doesn't have their ace available till game 3.
It's just
get the heck out of here. 3-game series, reset, win 2 out of 3, all the pitching resets, play a fair series in the next round. That's all I have to say. But yes, finish out your point.
Cleveland's my one, and I like a team that made the playoffs out of the East. I think they're still playing in Buffalo this year. The Blue Jays,
the old Buffalo Blue Jays,
wherever they're calling home this year, at least until the border opens up, if it ever does. The Toronto Buffalo Blue Jays.
Who would have thought with Major League Baseball kicking off here to start the month of April that by the end of April the Blue Jays could already have more wins than the Buffalo Sabres?
Yeah, seriously.
By the middle of April, they could probably have more wins than.
I would say by the end of this weekend, but you only play 3 games.
They sweep their openings.
You're going to be halfway there.
There.
But I like Toronto. I like the Blue Jays as my second wild card team.
Yeah, God, I hate predicting baseball. There's just so many teams and so few spots. Like I feel like when you're predicting the NFL or hockey, like you kind of get to you're kind of like, well, it's half the league. Like I kind of know where the cream rises and where like all these teams that you're picking are all in the cream side of I don't know. So it's very frustrating. And I had the A's penciled in as a wild card, and I kept reading and I like what the Angels are doing. You think they're too old? I don't. I have the Angels getting in to my wild card. They're going to be on the road, however. The Angels are your second wild card. They're going to be traveling to everybody's presumable central winner. I think the Chicago White Sox. I do like what they're doing. I like their ability to kind of pass the Indians this year. I think that central. My fear with the White Sox, taking a central team like you did, is I feel like with us both liking the Indians, both liking the Twins,
one of them is screwed.
That they're probably both out and the White Sox are in. That's probably what's going to happen. Is the White Sox are because there's a chance that the 3 of them and the rest of that central, it's a very good division of baseball. You might not get 2 teams. Right. So we might just be screwing ourselves. It's more realistic to think that like the Yankees pull away and like the Blue Jays is probably a good pick. But I'm going to take the White Sox hosting the Angels for my wild card round.
All right, very good. I did look it up. To start the year, at least the Blue Jays' first 2 homestands will be played at their spring training home, TD Ballpark in Dunedin, Florida. Is that
Dunedin?
Dunedin, Florida.
The Dunedin Blue Jays. Yes. So that stadium, I've driven by it. I haven't been there.
That's where they're starting the year for at least their first couple home series. Now
you're looking to see a major league game. You want to a cool town to hang out in. I'll tell you this: Dunedin's a hip town. Just kind of first of all, very LGBTQ friendly, but just tons of breweries, eateries, bars, things like that. They're all open because there's no COVID in Florida.
They start the
year
zero
COVID.
Their first 2 series are on the road. Then they have 2 home series. Then they have 3 series on the road. So they wouldn't be back home in Dunedin, Florida, until the end of April after their first 2 home series.
You're looking at it, who do they host in their first 2?
They host. Let me pull it back here because I was looking.
It'd be kind of cool to see a actual major league game right here.
The 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, they host the Angels. The 12th, 13th, 14th, they host the Yankees. So if you want to get to one,
I don't want to go to the Yankees. That's going to be packed.
It's going to be packed. It's going to be
the other one's Mike Trout, so it's also
Florida,
going to be
from
packed.
New York are probably going to fly down too. So,
well, they're all here.
Well, that's true. But there's a possibility they could return home to Toronto. The team is also considering playing a portion of their home schedule in Buffalo at Sahlen Field, which is where they played last season. Once we get out of this late winter, early spring weather in Buffalo. So those are my wild card teams.
Imagine the pain of Mike Trout and the Angels. It's like, hey, I got to change of plans, guys. You're not going to fly to Toronto. You're flying to Tampa Bay, Florida.
Okay.
Be like, oh, bummer. You know, like, crap. I was really looking forward to Toronto.
And then Sean, my surprise team, and this one's going to go
American League.
In the American League, and I'm going to go like in a bad way. A team that went all the way to the World Series a year ago.
No.
And I think the bottom's going to fall out of Tampa, and I feel like it's that small market team. At some point they're just gonna sell them off and blow the whole thing up, and because that's kind of the story in baseball. We saw with the Orioles, a decade ago. Pirates started to rebuild, then you sell everything off. Royals the same way. I just think it's hard for some of these smaller teams to stay near the top. I think the bottom's going to fall out of Tampa. I think Tampa's going to be a surprise, but in a bad way for the 613 people that are regular fans at the Trop.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there because I think I may have undersold the Rays. First of all, the Rays did not lose very many pieces, and a ton of their talent comes from an international pool. And you got guys like Choi and but you're seeing it now. Like, people are concerned about like the injury to Choi and like how long is that going to be? And one of the troubles you do run into as a smaller market, it's not necessarily landing and finding that talent. It's like if something goes wrong, who fills in? And I see a very realistic situation. Obviously, on my picks, I didn't have them in there. Rays lineup's still good. Pitching staff's still good. They probably got rid of Snell at a good time. I feel like Snell's career is going to start to wind down. I still don't think it's a bad play for the Padres. They don't need him to be their ace. But for them to land a guy like Snell, I don't feel like the Rays probably couldn't pay him, but the Rays didn't need to. But if I'm going to go for a surprise in the AL, I mean, I guess, pulling for the Astros there, it's weird to say a team with that lineup is my surprise. I don't really have a negative surprise in the AL. And, I mean, I guess I could say the A's not making it. Maybe I'll take the A's. You take the Rays, I'll take the A's.
All right.
I'll take the A's missing the playoffs. I think a lot of people are kind of with you. I think a lot of people like the A's. I like the A's. I just think that West is too talented. I think the Angels are going to hang on. I think I like their pitching staff. I like the lineup, and I think it's just going to be the Angels' year, especially with a lot else going on in California. Maybe the two LA teams, you get that possible Dodgers-Angels World Series. It's not going to happen, by the way. That's not in my predictions. But yeah, I maybe the A's missing. Or the Astros getting in. Either way, that AL West is where your surprise is for me, because I think a lot of people that think the Astros are just done. I think people just forgot Houston, how good they are. They're like, they cheated. They're not even good. No, they're really good.
No, they're good. I'm not going to
real good. It's just baffling. It's kind of like when the Patriots used to get caught cheating, and you're like, but you're good. Like, why are you filming the Jets for? Well, I feel like the Astros. I mean, anytime you can get an advantage and hold your job,
but it's hard to say no. The whole Patriots, like the filming thing, isn't quite the same as like because like the filming is
less player involvement.
Well, and it's like the filming part wasn't even like filming isn't illegal. It's like from where and when they did it that was the illegal part. You're like,
right? Like, what are you doing? Why are you filming a Jets practice?
But like, I mean, that sort of like filming is done weekly in the NFL. But anyway, let's go to National League here. Let's start in the East. And, from a year ago to now, I don't see the Marlins having a repeater of the season that took them to second place in the East. And I think a lot of people are probably going to look at the Braves and and say, this is a team that's just going to come back and repeat and do the things they need to do. But like, I'm looking at a team close here to Central Pennsylvania that I think, you have another year with this coaching staff. You got to figure the pitching out, and I think they do. That was your biggest problem a year ago, is you just couldn't hold on to leads. You just gave up. You gave up run after run after run after run when you get into the bullpen. So you have to manage your game a little bit better. I think they're going to do that. I actually like the Philadelphia Phillies to win a tight NL
Get out of town.
A tight NL East race this year, but I like the Phillies.
Baffling. I'd like to point out that 2 of our last 4 spring training games, we have blown 5 or more run leads in the second half of the game. I'd like to throw that out there. Blew one in Dunedin to the Blue Jays. It took a 5-run lead into the 8th in Dunedin.
So
5 runs and then lost in the 9th.
Are you telling me to change my pick, Sean?
No, I'd very much like you to have them. I don't. It took a lot for me to not take the Phillies. I like to take the home. Obviously, I took the Flyers in the NHL. It's not looking real great right now. And I wanted to take the Phillies real bad. What baffled me is how many people put their name on a printed publication taking the New York Mets to win anything. Don't get me wrong, a very talented club. They've made a lot of changes. It's the Mets. It's a team that just proverbially, it would be like the Orioles, like, hey, we actually spent $100 million. I'm still not going to bet on you.
Stupid idiot.
Yeah, you stupid idiot. But like,
disrespectful, stupid idiot.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Point said. But there are a ton of people out there, professional sports writers. I think people should just put their job on the line. There's a lot of sports writers that don't have work. I think if you're going to make your prediction and you're like, take them and people, are you sure? To just be like, I'll bet my job on it. Bet your job on the Mets. They're like, I'm not going to do that.
Are you sure about that?
The Mets manager wouldn't bet their job on the Mets.
No.
Because it's illegal in Major League Baseball, and I don't condone that. But I'm going to take I have the Braves. I'm the guy that you said, the repeating, and I wanted to take the Phillies over them. I just think when you go top to bottom, the Braves are right now a better organization. The Phillies aren't where I want them to be. Also, reading these, I found that the Phillies are the longest National League drought for getting to the playoffs. That's bad. That can't be right. Well, I guess the Pirates made it more recently. They had that one fluke year. I was like, how did the Pirates? But they had one. But I did read that somebody said, yep, the Phillies' longest, NL's longest playoff drought continues. Like,
when did the Diamondbacks? No, I guess the Diamondbacks did make it a couple of years ago.
That's what I said. I'm like, there's only like 5 teams that get in, like ever. And I'm
shocked to know that the Diamondbacks.
I'm going to do more research Rockies, actually buying in, but I did read one writer was like the longest drought in the NL.
The Brewers were good a couple of years ago, but I'd be shocked that the Reds.
I know they're not talking about a World Series drought. It's probably
just playoffs. But Reds, Pirates, Rockies, Diamondbacks, Mets have all made it more recently than the Philadelphia Phillies.
Well, then we clearly are.
That's surprising to me, but
hey, who knows?
Also more reason for the Phillies to win this year.
But yeah, I'm gonna take the Braves, I guess, reluctantly. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Phillies do win, but I'm gonna take the Braves.
All right, then we go to the Central, and probably one of the best divisions at the top. I mean, obviously you have the Pirates, but like. You have 4 teams that were right at or above 500. Cubs won it last year. Cardinals and Reds were just a couple of games back.
By the way, I also predicted the Cubs last year. Just throwing that out there. Of course, I also had them winning the World Series. So
yeah, I have the Cardinals actually getting the better of the Cubs this year. They just kind of seem to be. It always just kind of seems to be between those two. Flip a coin. Cardinals are going to take it this year.
I'm with you. I also have the St. Louis Cardinals. And I kind of just was like 2 great sports city. Which one do I think is a better sports city? I think St. Louis is a better sports city in general. And the Cardinals just I've always kind of compared, like when I talk about because not the cities, but like the St. Louis Cardinals to me feel kind of like up until the last few years, the Denver Broncos of the NFL, where like for years it was like no matter who was quarterbacking, no matter who was coach, after Shanahan, the Broncos just for years, for like a decade and a half, put like a consistently good product on the football field. And I just feel that's what St. Louis does. The Cardinals, I can always trust them. I feel like the Cardinals, safe bet. Even if I miss, it's not going to be by much. They're gonna win 2/3 of their games and probably be right in the thick of it come October. So I'm with you. I'm gonna take the St. Louis Cardinals.
All right, very good. Then we go out west, and obviously the home of the World Series champion from a year ago, the LA Dodgers, and then a Padres team that was absolutely spectacular. So, like, I talked about run differential, Sean.
Yeah, let's look at the run differential in the NL West.
So the best team in the American League last year in terms of run differential was Tampa Bay Rays at +60.
Yeah, I knew that because like the radio down here talks about nothing.
Minnesota, the White Sox were also +60. Minnesota +54. Oakland won the West +42.
But +60 is your AL mark.
AL mark. So the winner of the Central last year was the Cubs. Again, I talked tight division. They were at a +25.
So it's not even close.
The Atlanta Braves were the only plus differential team in the East. They were +60. So they tied the AL mark. Then you go out west.
Well, playing the Marlins and the Phillies helped a lot.
And the other team. But San Diego Padres, the second place team in the NL West a year ago, +84. So they were 24 better than everybody.
They could literally play in any other division in baseball.
And score more runs. The Los Angeles Dodgers, Sean, +136. So they were more than double
anyone else.
The best of everyone else, not quite double their closest competition.
Well, they had that one game where they won 500-4. That helped a lot.
My God, they scored 340.
They had a game that took 4 days to end. They scored 500 runs, and that helped a lot.
349 runs scored, only 213 given up. But I think the Padres did the best work in the offseason this year. They didn't have to do a lot, but they somehow made a great team even better. I actually like the Padres to win by like one game. This may even be a play-in game to win the West. But I like the Padres to win a very
you have a potential play-in game
before game.
Before the loser has to play another.
Then
your playoffs are really messed up. Then you're down to your third starter.
And it happened.
Well, as you know, our MLB tie-in, my buddy Justin Daniels, who I'm going to assume is going to listen to our show at some point. Big Dodgers fan. He's going to be very excited for baseball. Obviously, big baseball guy. He also has his first child is on the way. Has a baseball glove already purchased for him. Really cool. Really awesome for him and his lady to have that coming on. So not too long after I welcome in child number 2, he will be welcoming in child number 1. So first of all, props and congrats to Justin Daniels. But to really screw up his day, I'm going with you. I'm taking the San Diego Padres. I think it's the best infield in baseball. I don't think it's even close. I think that
they're in brown and yellow again. Gotta love it.
Yeah, and it's great. I get rid of that stupid. Get me in the brown. That's what I think. Padres. You're. First of all, why aren't there any monks out there speaking out about the defamation? Let's get that name changed. The San Diego Padres. Maybe the Whales. I've seen Anchorman. Maybe the San Diego Whales. Anyway, I too take the Padres. I think the addition of Blake Snell is interesting. It's just one more former Cy Young winner. I think the Padres were like, you know what? If you could spend money, so can we. And to be honest, do I think they've spent money better than the Dodgers? No, because the Dodgers spent more. But have they gotten better value for a little less money? Yes. And I think the Padres pull this off. I don't think it's as close. I think the Dodgers are kind of like hanging in there, and I think it changes as the year goes. But I think as the season ends, you're going to see the Padres kind of pull away by a handful of games and just win the West. So I'm with you. Sorry, Justin. Congrats on the kid, but your team's not winning the West.
Don't apologize. He watched his team win the World Series
from the field.
On the field. So don't apologize to him.
You're right. You know what? F you, Justin Daniels. Don't worry. I've said that to him before.
I don't doubt that. The two wild card teams, I'm going to go with those LA Dodgers to be the top team. I think they're going to lose.
So am I.
Potentially lose that play-in game to the Padres, but then host their own play-in game. And I think they're going to host the Chicago Cubs. I think it's just it's that story of those two tight divisions.
I do like the Cubs.
I think the Braves are just going to be just slightly off the mark behind the Cubs for that second wild card spot. Again, I think that the National League is the better league.
Cubs win.
Hey,
hey.
I think the National League is the better league. I think you're gonna have a
top
lot
to
more
bottom. You think
top
just
to bottom. Like there may be even just best team versus best team, but I think that the competition.
I mean, both of them have a floor. We have the Orioles in the American League, with the Pirates in the National League. I don't think that floor changes. By the way,
no,
just throwing that out there. That floor is still the floor. You build on the floor, and
you're solid. If you always want to build your house on a solid foundation. Orioles and
those
Pirates,
two very solid foundations.
Solid foundation.
They're not going anywhere.
They know exactly where they are.
But I like, yeah, because if you're building on a good foundation, you want the foundation to never go anywhere. They
do not.
That's awesome, though. We'll call the combination of the Orioles and the Pirates. That's the foundation.
But like I said, Cubs are my second wild card team in the NL.
Yeah, and you build that foundation. So you're saying if we're going with the house analogy, the NL just has a lot more support in the rafters, like up in the attic, just a lot more roof support.
Yeah.
The
American League might be
who's going to be the chimney. It's hard to be who's going to be on the outside of that roof, but there's a lot of support beams. I would agree. The American League house, be wary of collapsing roofs. You want to make sure you kind of you have some space on the outside to maybe set up a tent in case your house collapses. But you're right. In the AL, I felt the AL was way easier. I had that filled in really fast. The AL West being the only, because between Astros, A's, and Angels, I had a really hard time. In the NL, probably not the best pick. I feel like I should go somewhere in the Central with the Cubs or anything like that. I have the Dodgers with you as my first wild card team hosting this playing game. And I have my Philadelphia Phillies. I wrote them in. I don't really have a lot of reasons why. I don't think the bullpen's going to be that much better. But what I think is going to be is you're going to see improvements. The offense is going to click. You made the right move in paying Real Muto. And I think that the team is going to be excited about that. They've kind of rallied around it. Harper looks hot coming out of spring training. He's crushing the ball.
Is that his like his playing, or he's just too sexy? Or
too
both?
Sexy. No, too sexy. No.
Or a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Got that good beard going on. Always embracing Gritty and the fanatic in his uniform. I love everything about Bryce. I think Bryce Harper.
Clear Wooder shirt.
I think Bryce Harper has embraced Philadelphia. I think there were people that are like, why are we paying Bryce? Like, what has happened? I think Bryce Harper was waiting for the day that he could play in Philadelphia. I think we overpaid for him. I think we could have gotten him at a pay cut. That's not really true. But I think he's fit in. He loves being the center of attention. I think he loves it even when he stinks. He was the one that was like, yeah, I'm the first one to tell you I suck right now. So they're not wrong. I think he's really embraced that, like, when they're booing him, it's because he deserves it. And when he's red hot, he's going to love playing there.
Or at least
there's really no in between.
Or at least he's smart enough not to, like, speak out against it.
No, whatever it is, he gets it. I mean, Lord knows he played like a fifth or a sixth of his games there,
like,
playing in Washington.
He goes home and is like, man, these fucking people. But he's smart enough to know his base.
Yeah, well, he's played in Philly. He's followed Philly media. It's not like he was playing that far away in Washington. He understands what goes on. Yeah. And somebody who's that good and that smart understands that, like, if they're paying me this much money in Philadelphia, there's no in between. I'm either in their good graces or go F yourself.
Yeah, and
That's it.
That is what it is.
You know, you're going to get paid. That's it. But I think the Phillies are going to be a team that makes some moves during the season. I think things are going to go unexpectedly well early, and they're going to find themselves in that kind of scenario where it's like, you know, if we had some pieces, and when you have those kind of latter half of the, you know, before the trade deadline, people looking to unload some guys like, people the Orioles were for years with Machado. I feel like they're going to find one of those. Maybe it's a closer. Maybe it's another lineup guy. Maybe it's to fill an injury, whatever the situation is. I think they're going to find it. I think they're going to get even hotter in the second half, and I'm going to put the Phillies playing the Dodgers. And Justin, we're going to kill you.
There you go. And my surprise in the National League, and it shouldn't be that hard to figure out when you're talking about a team that's going to go third in their division to winning the division and bettering, bettering themselves over the Braves. A team that was -5 in run differential, and if they're going to do this, then they have to.
I feel like at that -5, like it didn't always feel like they were going to be at minus. Like I feel like a lot of the games I watched last year, like I was like,
well, it's because they would go from like 8-run leads to 2-run losses, so they weren't getting blown out, but they were giving up 6-7 runs when they get into their bullpen. So if they're going to do this, then they have to improve their pitching, and to me, that's going to be the surprise if the Phillies can take that third place finish from a year ago and turn it into a first place, division winning team. That has to be your biggest surprise in the NL.
I'd say so. I think obviously if my predictions are going to hold, now I took the Phillies more as a homer. If I was looking this neutrally, would I put the Phillies in my wild card? Probably not. But I can't do a prediction show and not put my Philadelphia team in there, and I don't think it's an unrealistic expectation. It's going to take some work to get there. So they would be my obvious with you surprise. But I'm going to go in the East. I'm going to stay in the East and say my true surprise is going to be the Miami Marlins. And they are not going to challenge for the wild card. They're not going to be a team that the Phillies are trying to bat away with a stick to get in there. They're not going to quite be there. But what you're going to see the Miami Marlins do is get off the floor. The foundation we mentioned earlier, I think for a little while here, people just assume the Marlins are going to be a part of that foundation. And I think the Marlins are going to get themselves to the top half of that first floor. I think they're going to be up on the staircase. They're going to be trying to decide if they're going to climb to the roof or not. They're probably not going to get there for several years, but they have some talent in the infield. I like some of the hitting I've seen in spring training, and they have one of the prospects I was really looking forward to playing for the Phillies in Sixto Sanchez, who's going to make it really – they're going to be a really fun team to watch every 5 games because Sixto Sanchez is legit, and I highly recommend tuning into Marlins games when he pitches. But you got to figure some of the guys behind him, and they have money to spend if they want to go out and get a guy at some point. But they have some talent in their minors. I think they're going to win more games than people think. So the Miami Marlins are my surprise team, for better, not worse, in the National League.
There you go. Then we go to the World Series, Sean. We look all the way out into this coming fall. And I put over this Padres team big time. And I think the money that they spent, the way that they spent it, they were a team that put runs on the board. And I think they're going to learn lessons from not winning it all a year ago. And I think they're going to find a way to do it. I think they're going to win the World Series. And I think they're going to do it. I like this Twins team. I think that Central Division arguably maybe is the best in the American League. So you're going to be kind of baptized by fire coming out of it. So I like the San Diego Padres over the Minnesota Twins. I'll go 6 games. I think it'll be a good series. But I like the Padres as your 2021 World Series champion.
It's hard to go 2 years back-to-back for me without putting the Yankees at least in the World Series. But I'm going to do it because, fuck the Yankees. I don't know. There's really no reason why I wouldn't put the Yankees in there. Like, it's like they spend the most money. They're in the best scenario, and they have the most fans. Like, just put them in. But, again, fuck the Yankees. I'm with you on the Padres. I think the Padres sneak their way in the National League. I think it's going to be a closer playoff run. I feel like the Padres are going to they're going to tire themselves out a little bit. I think they're going to have to go through some things, especially with the Phillies in the NLCS. Yeah, that was a just backdoor predictor right there. But I have them in the World Series playing against the other West team I have in from the AL, the Houston Astros, even though they're kind of going to go through a trial by fire to get in. At least according to all the professionals, they're going to have to deal with the, we like the A's, we like the Angels. I think the Astros are kind of the cream of the crop there. And I think the Astros are, once they get to the playoffs, they're going to have something to prove. Sans any kind of cheating scandal, they're going to be like, look, we're still great. And I think they're going to prove it. I actually have the Astros in my prediction beating the Padres in 6 games.
All right, there we go. And finally tonight, Sean, before we close out, something that's going to impact our college football viewership and listenership this coming fall is a little bit of a shakeup at Notre Dame football on NBC. Tony Dungy out as the color commentator of Notre Dame football. Drew Brees and the recently retired Saints quarterback is the new color commentary voice for the Notre Dame broadcast. Mike Tirico will still be the play-by-play duties. So, I'll be curious to see what Brees brings to the table. I mean, obviously, you think a guy, coming off a career. I don't want to. I don't want to say he's going to be like college football's Tony Romo, but you see the way Romo transitioned from the field to the booth and really has used his ability to read a field and read a game and read situations. And maybe that played into the decision to put Drew Brees in this spot because Jeff checking in with us. Hi, Jeff. Hope you're feeling better, man.
Yo!
So maybe that played into it a little bit. Personally, I loved the Dungy Tirico booth. I thought that was one of the best Notre Dame broadcast teams that we've heard in a very long time, maybe ever in the history of Notre Dame on NBC. But I'll give Drew a chance. Unfortunately, for the first time since 2014, Notre Dame plays Drew's alma mater, Purdue, in game number 2. So,
by the way, slapped us around a couple of years while Drew was playing there, just for the record.
Certainly did, yeah. Brees did bring the hurt on Notre Dame. Much different Notre Dame team at that time, though, as well. But I just obviously caught my eye, and we'll see how he does. I think he's also going to be on like the Sunday Night Football broadcast as well. But a new voice in Notre Dame on NBC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty fine with it. I think Drew's going to bring an interesting aspect to the game. I feel like early on in his broadcasting career, you may see kind of that, and we've seen it with quarterbacks and players in the past that, you're so used to not taking a stand that you remain very neutral, and you kind of have to do that as a player. You're avoiding, locker room material, things like that. And I feel like there's a point where, but Drew Brees has excelled, excelled at the collegiate level, holds most of the records at his high school, except for the ones that Nick Foles broke. And same high school, by the way. Very, very, very cool that happened. But I like hearing Drew talk. He was on Dan Patrick. It was either today or yesterday. I was listening to it a little bit, and I heard him talking to Drew Brees, who seems pretty okay with from what I hear about not being a player anymore. And, that's obviously a rough transition, but, he seemed very cool and just really honored to have had a career as long as he did. But he's seen a lot of people play, and he's seen a lot of different formations, and he's seen a lot of different things. And do I think he's going to be as entertaining as Tony Romo? No, but he's not that kind of personality. But he's, in my opinion, like he does have some of that kind of humor side to him, and I think as he settles into the role, is going to be kind of like Doug Flutie, but less annoying and a little bit funnier. He's kind of just a little bit more real world. I think he's a little bit more blue collar than Doug Flutie is, and I like that. And I hope Drew Brees has a very long, successful career, because the things he did for New Orleans, even beyond the football field, and kind of, one of the things I heard about him going into New Orleans, and like they were taking him on a tour of the city, presumably to all the nice areas. Like, here's where your home might be, and here's some of the nicer schools. They got like stuck behind like a Katrina-caused like accident where like a truck had been flooded and he's like looking around at like all this destruction instead of what they wanted him to see. And it was like, that was when he said him and his wife decided to play in New Orleans, where he's like, this city needs something. And I was like, that's probably the coolest story I've ever heard about Drew Brees. It was him like deciding on New Orleans because the city needed help. And I was like, you know what? Drew Brees can just be an analyst for whatever he wants to be for as long as he wants to be, and Godspeed. I do see Jeff made a comment. What's he got?
So he's excited about Drew stepping in and watch an interview with him. I think he'll do well. Yeah, I mean, he seems to have a pretty good football mind.
Yeah. I think people like Drew Brees. I don't think he's quite like everyone connects with Peyton Manning or wants to connect with Peyton. Peyton Manning to me is like the quarterback that everybody's like,
that's a hard level to be put on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
where like that Southern drawl just sucks you in. If Drew Brees had a Southern drawl, he would be just as appealing.
maybe.
But Drew Brees, I don't think he's like, he's not untouchable like Tom Brady. Like when he talks, you're like, oh, I like that guy, but like I'm not in his class. You know what I mean? Like Tom Brady's above you. Like when you watch him, you're like, yeah, I'm not as good as him.
Yeah,
he's beautiful. He's great. Drew Brees like seems approachable, and I think that's what's going to do well for him in those broadcasts.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Sean, we're going to close this thing out tonight, and not sure when we'll hear from you again, but let the people know where they can follow you, and we'll close this thing out.
All right. Well, as usual, you can always follow me at Sean Shine State. That's SHAWN Shine State. And here to close out, in addition to kind of signing off, thinking by the next time I talk to you, I'll have two boys running around the house. Well, one and then another one kind of laying around the house. I want to leave you with my Sean Shine statement. A lot of allegations being brought forward with our a very well-known Deshaun Watson, and I've heard a lot of media not making light of it, but I feel like a lot of folks aren't making it as serious as it is.
See you, Jeff. Good night,
Jeff. I think these are very serious allegations. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of looking into the truth and who's telling what and who's saying what. But where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And it's very rare that you're going to get this many cases when nothing's happening.
I think it's 20 plus accusations.
Last I saw was 19, but I think we're approaching. It's 19 and a handful that aren't pressing charges.
Right.
At last I checked. That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's let the process play out. But I have a hard time believing that right. There's going to be that many.
Where there's smoke, there's fire, and where there's fire, there's more fire. The Sean Shine statement is this: they're very serious allegations, and sexual misconduct is inappropriate no matter who you are, where you are, and who it involves. So for those of you folks, not that a lot of our listeners are going to be in situations to do or to spend what Deshaun Watson does and spends, take people seriously. Remember that everyone has feelings. Everyone has the right to say no at any time. And even if it's been yes all along and changes at the last minute, it's still a no. So those are very serious things. No means no. Deshaun Watson, I'm pulling for you if you're innocent, but I'm pulling for them if you're not. And that is my Sean Shine statement.
There you go. I always say, be better. Sean, we'll talk to you next time, whenever the next time is that we see you. You can follow me at Big Jim Sports. Make sure you're following the show. We are on Twitter at Huddle Up Podcast, Facebook at Huddle Up Podcast, Instagram at Huddle Up Pod. Make sure you check out our home network, NGSC Sports, at ngscsports.com. Our secondary network is the Leib Sports and Music Network. That is LEEIB Sports.com. Subscribe to the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and all other podcast platforms. Please give us a rate and review if you subscribe on Apple Podcast. And until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and as always, go for the win. Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app. That's arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?